the Anglo-German conflicts. So looking at these conflicts, they took place in 1885. When we talk about, if you hear the word Anglo, that is Britain, then German, that means this is the conflict that were between German and Britain. So after the 1884 to 1885 Berlin Conference, Britain and Germany started sending traders into East Africa. They were to acquire necessary raw materials for their industries and also prepare the way for colonial agents. So that was the duty of the traders, to come and trade with the Africans, befriend them, to prepare safe future for the colonial agents. Britain sent the British East African Association, that is BEAA, that is the British East African Association or British East Africa Association, and the Germans sent the German East Africa Association, that is GEAA. So all these were the groups of traders that came in East Africa to explore, to prepare, to draw maps, to befriend Africans, to sign treaties, so on and so forth, in a way of protecting the future of the colonialists. So we are going to see the reasons why we had the Anglo-German conflicts. Why did the Germans confront with the British, yet they had the same goals in East Africa? To begin with, a conflict arose between the two groups of traders, that is the GEAA, that is the German East Africa Traders Association, and then we have the BEAA, that is the British East Africa Association. This is also Traders Association. It rose over an area of about 800 miles inland from the coast. So German East Africa Association took over the area, yet British East Africa Association had reached an agreement with the Sultan Bagash to trade in the mainland. So what annoyed the British is to see the Germans taking the area that was having almost 800 miles. And this is an area that Britain had reached an agreement with the Sultan called Bagash. So the Sultan Bagash had agreed with the British to trade with them. But the Germans grabbed this area, so this annoyed the British traders group of the British East Africa Association, which ended up confronting with the German East Africa Association, at the end of the day making their conflicts inevitable. The German was afraid that Britain might join with the British South African Company to force her out of Tanganyika. So German was afraid of the British pace of expansion. Britain was expanding at a higher speed. So they were afraid that these traders in East Africa were to collaborate with those in South Africa, and they pushed the Germans away from Tanganyika. So the fear Germany had that Britain may end up pushing them out of Tanganyika made them to confront with them in 1885. We had the British were also afraid that German East African Association might link up with Uganda and push them out of Kenya. Likewise, as Germany was afraid of the British Africa Association to collaborate with those of the South African group of the British or company, that is the BISACO, even the British were also afraid that Germany may collaborate with its group in Uganda to push them out of Kenya. So it made them to confront each other because of fear. So between 1886 to 1889, there was a race for the total control of Uganda between the British and the Germans. So in 1890, Germany and Britain were fighting over Uganda, who to control Uganda, who to colonize Uganda. So they had to confront one another because they were all having interest in colonizing Uganda. So in 1890, Karl Peters signed a friendly agreement with the Kabaka Mwanga of Uganda, which worried the British. Karl Peters was a German who signed an agreement with the King of Buganda, Mwang I, and because of the signing of this agreement, Britain was scared, thinking that maybe Germany was taking over Uganda, yet they had their hidden interest. Frederick Jackson tried also to secure a similar treaty for British, but Kabaka Mwanga refused. So after the Germans under Karl Peters signing an agreement in 1890, Britain also came and signed this the signing of the agreement with the Kabaka Mwanga. But Mwanga refused to accept the British signing of the treaty, and he only based on what they had reached upon with Karl Peters. So when it was rumored that the German commissioner would visit Buganda, the British the British appetite, anxiety increased over Uganda. So Britain never wanted to see Uganda falling into the hands of the Germans. Likewise, the Germans never wanted to see Uganda falling into the hands of the British. Between 1887 to 1889, the Mahdi of Sultan, this man is called Emil Pasha, who was the Egyptian Equatorial Province governor, also made an attempt of accepting the signing of several agreements. Karl Peters had that Frederick Jackson, who was a British, received a siege, which would mean that the area would be taken over by Britain. After Karl Peters, a German representative, receiving the news that Jackson had done what we call a siege. Siege is like you go in an area, you actually surround okuzingako. So German received the news that the man called Frederick Jackson, that one of Britain, had surrounded the area of Uganda, or the territory of Uganda. So he was afraid that maybe these people, they want to grab Uganda away from us. However, Henry Martin Stanley, H.M. Stanley, rescued the Emil Pasha before Karl Peters or Frederick Jackson arrived in the area. So, however, we shall see that after the rescue Henry Martin did, in 1888, the Imperial British East African Company IBEACO, that is the Imperial British East African Company, BISACO was in South Africa, was again given a charter or license to protect all the areas of the British interest. So this is how these countries were able to actually, these are some of the factors that made the two great powers to confront one another over territories in East Africa. I beg to submit from here. Have a good day.